Recording yourself is one of the most important things that you can do to become a great guitar player, and in this video, I'm going to show you why. What's up everybody, my name's Adam and welcome to Jamsville. If you're new to the channel, make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell button so that I can help you get better at guitar every week. Without further ado, let's get started. Number one, recording is a skill in and of itself. So it's possible that you've heard a bunch of times that you need to record yourself when you're playing and practicing, and one of the reasons that you haven't done it as much as you should is because when you hit that record button, you feel those nerves and that anxiety kind of kicking in. So like anything else, recording is a skill, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. So if you start recording yourself every day when you practice, you're going to notice that after a couple of weeks, you're not going to get nervous anymore when you record yourself because you're just used to doing it every single time. It's just another thing that you do. And in that way, it's very similar to when you play live music, because the first several times that you play live, especially if you only do it sporadically, you go, oh man, people are going to see me playing, and you start thinking about all this stuff and you get nervous. So even if you're just recording yourself with your phone, this skill of recording is going to be developed a lot, and it's going to really help you, especially if you end up doing like a big recording session with real microphones and the whole kit and caboodle. Number two, you get an outsider's perspective. So when you listen to another musician playing, it's really easy to listen to them very intently and sort of judge how their playing is. And one of the reasons that we're able to do that is since we're not doing anything else other than listening to that person play, we're able to use all of our mental energy on listening. However, while you're playing or practicing, there's really no possible way that you could ever listen to yourself as intently as you'd listen to another musician. This is where recording yourself comes in. Recording yourself allows you to listen to yourself in the exact same way that you would listen to somebody else playing and judge it in the exact same way. One thing a lot of people do too is they won't bother recording themselves until they've practiced something enough to nail it or make it perfect, and then they'll try to record themselves. But even if you're not nailing something, even if you're totally messing something up, you want to record yourself so that you can hear the mistakes that you're making. When you're playing, you might know you made a mistake, and that's fine. It's pretty easy to tell when you made a mistake, but you don't know exactly what the mistake is. And there's a ton of value in being able to listen to those recordings and actually listen to your mistakes and figure out exactly what the mistake was, so the next time you go ahead and play it, you can fix that mistake and you know exactly what you need to do to fix it. We also like to ask other people how we sounded when they hear us play, but you don't need to. If you listen to a recording of yourself, you can hear it with your own ears. Number three, you're actually producing content. If any of you aspire to grow your social media presence a bit, this is super important because it's pretty hard to make content. But if you're recording yourself all the time, you are cranking out content left and right, which you don't always have to post, of course. You don't want to post something that you're not happy with, don't post it. But you may actually surprise yourself when you're practicing and you just happen to be recording yourself and you think, wow, I'm actually sounding pretty good today. You can get a snippet of what you were doing, and now you have that recording and you can share it with the world. Isn't that a great thing? Sort of like the last point, a lot of times when people want to post something online, they'll practice it and practice and practice it and then say, all right, now's my big moment. I'm gonna record it and then I'm gonna post it. And then they start recording and it's not happening because they're not used to recording and all this stuff. And then it's frustrating and then they don't end up posting anything. Extra tip, this also applies even better if you record yourself with video while you're practicing. Some people just post audio recordings from their phone and that's fine, but it's just not gonna be as good as having a video. Number four, recording yourself automatically makes you get better at guitar. So when I think of something that's going to automatically make me get better at guitar without any extra effort, that definitely piques my interest. So in my experience with recording myself while practicing, I've noticed that when I listen back to the recordings, I hear what's on the recording and I compare it to what's in my head and I think it should sound like. Whatever that perfect version is that I would ideally want it to be. So after I listen to the recording and then I go back and play the passage again, I'll notice that sort of automatically my hands start to do whatever they need to do to make the sound match closer to what's in my head. One example of this is I remember recording myself and I noticed that I was playing a solo and the notes were all just kind of too short and staccato. And I didn't notice this at all when I was practicing. So immediately when I played through that solo again, I automatically made the notes sound a lot more connected and legato, which in turn made the solo sound way better. I'll also notice things like if I leave too much string noise, or I'm picking too hard, or if I'm recording myself improvising, maybe I'm not leaving enough space and I'm just playing too many notes. A lot of these things I wasn't able to notice while I was playing, but then I noticed them in the recording, and then I can actually pay better attention to them the next time that I play. Before we continue, let me know down in the comments below, what guitar do you play? Number 5. Recording yourself develops your listening skills. So it's not good enough just to record yourself practicing. You need to actually go back and listen to those recordings for you to get the full benefit of it. One thing I think is super great to do when you're practicing is actually incorporate listening to the recordings as part of your practice. So what do I mean by that? Let's say you're playing through a passage. You record yourself playing it one time. Then you stop what you're doing, listen to the recording. Then, after you're done listening to the recording, you play it again. And you repeat this process over and over. A lot of times people will record themselves for 20 minutes, a bunch of minutes in a row, and then they'll forget about it and they won't go back and listen to the recording. But if you go through this process of recording yourself playing for a couple minutes, then listening to it, then recording, then listening, it creates something called a feedback loop. And this amplifies the effect that I was just talking about, where you can really hear exactly what you sound like and be able to fix everything you need to in order to sound exactly how you want to while you're playing. Listening is also a skill in and of itself, and when you're listening to that recording, you really want to focus all your attention on listening to it and listening to every single detail that you can find in the recording. When you do this, you're going to develop that skill of listening further and further, and you can take that skill with you to the bandstand. When you play with other people, you can think, I want to listen just like I was listening to those recordings, but I want to listen to the other people I'm playing with. And you can also take that to when you're learning songs from recordings. You can listen to all the details and arrangements that you may not have noticed normally when you're just listening on a surface level. Number 6, recording tracks your progress. I've talked about this before in other videos that it's super important to keep a log of what you practice so that you can make sure that you're progressing further and further and further in your practice. But guess what? Recording is the ultimate version of keeping a log of what you're practicing. You can write down all the details about something you've been working on, but it's never going to amount to the same information as listening to a recording of yourself and just listening to how you sounded 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago. It can be incredibly humbling and rewarding to listen to those old recordings of yourself 5 years ago and think, wow, sometimes it feels like I'm not really getting better, but then you say, I have gotten a ton better. Most people aren't recording themselves enough, so they're not going to have this archive of recordings that they can look back on and be proud of their progress. But you can be different and start recording yourself every day. You'll be astonished at your progression from beginner to pro level. And speaking of which, if you want a step-by-step system to master the fretboard to a pro level, then check out the Jamsville Guitar Performance System Fretboard Fundamentals course. This course is going to be the GPS that's going to take you straight from where you are to fretboard mastery. Make sure you drop a thumbs up down below and subscribe to the channel so that I can keep helping you get better at guitar. Until next time, listen, learn, and jam.